He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job.
Do you think that Mike Waltz made a mistake, and does he need to apologize?
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future.
Back in March, President Trump was, as you just heard, defending National Security Advisor Mike Waltz in the wake of that technology, otherwise known as Signal Group chat leak. Notably, Waltz sat just a few seats from the president in that cabinet room, was in the cabinet room earlier this week, but now he's out and apparently going to be nominated as the next UN ambassador. I want to bring in our panel, CBS News political contributor, Democratic strategist Joel Payne, and Republican strategist Ashley Davis. So, Ashley, start first. Mike Waltz in, now moved out, and look, I know the White House is trying to say, hey, it's a promotion to go to the United Nations. It is not a promotion to lose position in the West Wing as National Security Advisor to go to New York to the United Nations.
Well, and remember just 2 weeks ago or whenever Elise was asked to step down that he said this wasn't really a real position anyway.
Elise Stefanik,
yeah,
yes.
Elise Stefanik.
His original nominee, who's now
Exactly.
staying in the House of Representatives because Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, needs every Republican House vote he can get for coming votes on the tax bill and the like.
Absolutely. Here's my number one thing about this story today. This is not about Signal. I think Signal is one piece in the puzzle of why Mike Waltz
What is it really about?
I think there was a lot of personality issues between certain peoples within the West Wing, and there was also some issues with maybe him being too, quote, hawkish. But I think that it was just time. There was enough feathers being ruffled that it was time for him to move on. I actually, in regards to his UN appointment, I think it's going to be really hard because of Signal for him to get through the Foreign Relations Committee and the Senate and then get a full vote by all the Republicans. I mean, he can lose 3, obviously, but I think a vote is going to be, I will be surprised if he becomes the UN ambassador.
Ashley, I'll tell you right now, I will not be surprised if he's the UN ambassador because the Senate Republican conference that can confirm Pete Hegseth, narrowly as it did, will probably confirm Mike Waltz.
Can I comment?
Go, please.
Okay, so on those 3 things, so we have... He can lose 3, really, because then you'll have the vice president. So
breaking the tie,
yeah,
right?
So you have Murkowski, Collins, and McConnell, who definitely will not vote. I think that Pete Hegseth is a completely different story in regards to the Secretary of Defense and some of these major cabinet positions than the UN. I don't know how many people are going to fall on their sword if they think national security was breached.
Fair point.
Over the UN ambassador.
Joel, I have
Sorry,
$17.
Okay.
Joel, I have $17 in my pocket. I'll give you all $17 if you can name, in less than 20 seconds, the 5 people who have been National Security Advisor for Donald Trump.
Ooh, gosh. H.R. McMaster, who did some work here with CBS News previously. Oh, gosh, was it our friend who is the Iran hawk? Oh, my gosh, John Bolton.
That's 2.
See another one? Flynn, I got some help there. Flynn, 3.
3,
I got to give you $4 back. I got to give you $4 back.
In order, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Flynn, H.R. McMaster, John Bolton, Robert O'Brien, Mike Waltz, and now the 6th would be interim Marco Rubio. Joel, give me your take. Give me your take. Run with it.
My take is I think Ashley makes
I don't even have $17 in my pocket.
I think it's a fantastic point that like Signal is maybe just the permission structure that's created for the break here. I think Mike Waltz signaled way too normie. The signaling he was doing was way too normie. Also, of course, the punishable by death offense of knowing Jeffrey Goldberg. I think those 2 things set in motion a chain of events that many people in that West Wing didn't want Mike Waltz in the first place. I think Marco Rubio is normie enough for that entire national security operation. Mike Waltz, 1 normie too many.
You got it. I wanted to play for you sound from the State Department. Ashley, you have perspective on this, what it's like to be sort of maybe blindsided bureaucratically. Let's watch how that played out in real time today.
The president has just written on Truth Social that Mike Waltz is going to become the new U.S. ambassador to the United Nations.
Well, there you
no
go.
longer the National Security
Fabulous.
Advisor. And in addition to that, he says that in the interim, Secretary of State Marco Rubio will serve as National Security Advisor while continuing his strong leadership at the State Department. Do you know how long he's going to be serving in both roles?
It is clear that I just heard this from you.
And there you have it. Ashley.
I mean, this isn't atypical of the administration, obviously, and I don't know why. Listen, they were putting stuff out fast and furious because people were concerned about who was going to be the national security advisor. I understand that. And they don't feel like they need to brief everyone that's involved. But obviously, it's very uncomfortable for her. I wouldn't want to be in her position.
No, well, I think this is interesting, though. Marco Rubio, which I don't know how many people called this, seems to be in high favor.
Oh, yeah.
In that West Wing with Susie Wiles, that Florida connection.
No doubt.
It seems like she's...
Four jobs.
He has earned President Trump's trust in whatever way he needed to. So I think that's actually notable.
Can I have my $17 question?
No, you can't. I got to move on. So Steve Bannon, who is an important voice in the Trump world, talked to Steve Inskeep of NPR, and they covered a lot of ground. I recommend people take a look at that. It's on YouTube, even though it's on NPR. And one of the topics that Steve Bannon provocatively raised was a third Trump term. Listen.
Yeah.
Does it bother you that that's unconstitutional?
That what's unconstitutional?
Running for a third term?
Steve, as I told you, I'm sure we're working on some things that are well within inside the Constitution. And it'll be very. I think people will agree that it'll be very smart work.
Give me an example of one thing.
I don't want to whet your appetite. It's exploding liberals' heads, progressive heads, that Trump's going to be with them forever.
Trump's going to be with them forever. Joel.
Shenanigans. Listen, this is a president that is very fastly becoming a lame duck, trying to keep himself out of lame duck status. Donald Trump ain't running for a third term. You want to know why? Because he ain't doing nothing with a second term. He's not exactly showing himself with distinction in the second term, down 10 points in 2 months.
It's a distraction. That they do this on purpose. We're not changing the Constitution and ratifying it in 2/3 of the states.
Before we go, last night Kamala Harris gave a speech. Here's a soundbite. Let's listen.
President Trump and his administration and their allies are counting on the notion that fear can be contagious. What they have overlooked is that fear is not the only thing that's contagious. Courage is contagious.
Ashley, is it?
Yeah, I'm looking at her, and she's still struggling with her messaging, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, I was distracted. Do you think she is?
We might disagree on that. I think she's improved a lot. And I will say this. It's not just Kamala Harris. Joe Biden, which I think he announced recently is going to be on The View soon with Joe Biden. You're seeing lots of other Biden alum kind of come out. It feels like those folks have now decided to come out of hibernation, maybe because folks are starting to see that this Trump project isn't working out well.
Much to the delight of the Trump White House. I'll say that. Joel Payne, Ashley Davis, thank you very much.